Good morning, members of the Committee of Finance, members of Parliament, support staff, radio listeners, TV viewers, those following via social media, and members of the media. Welcome to the continuation of this Committee of Finance meeting, number 4 of today, Friday, August 18th, 2023. We have established a quorum of 8 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received notice of absence from the following members: MP Siddharth Bijlani, MP William Marlin, MP Angelique Rameau. I've received notice of lateness from MP Peterson and MP Duncan. Are there any other notifications? I see none. We have as agenda points for this meeting the way forward for Parliament on tax reform. This agenda point was requested by MP S.A Wescot-Williams. It is good to note that this meeting is a continuation of the meeting which was adjourned on May 26, 2023, which agenda points 1 and 2 were closed. Agenda point 3 was opened, and the requester of the agenda point, MP Wescot-Williams, gave an elucidation to her request for the agenda point. The meeting was then adjourned to allow the Minister of Finance to leave, as the presence of the minister was not specifically requested. Thereafter, the meeting was once again adjourned to allow members of Parliament to leave to attend the Integrity Symposium. We go over to agenda point number 3, the way forward for Parliament on tax reform. This is IS number IS/651/2022-2023, dated March 27, 2023. Parliament received this letter from MP Wescot-Williams with the request for the aforementioned agenda point to be discussed in a meeting of this committee. At this time, I would like to give the floor to MP Wescot-Williams to elucidate her request.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and a very good morning to you. Good morning to our Secretary General, and of course, a very good morning to my colleagues and those in the tribune here at Parliament and those viewing and or listening to this meeting via the different media. Madam Chair Lady, thank you so much for going into the request for this meeting, and let me state upfront, like I did before the meeting was open, that I think I have contributed to, don't want to use the word confusion, but in my opinion, for me, it would look like that, and I am a contributor to that, seeming that way, and I'll explain you why, Madam Chair Lady. Madam Chair Lady, as you outlined it, this meeting indeed was postponed. This agenda point for this meeting was postponed because of the reasons mentioned. However, Madam Chair Lady, where I messed up was by not at the start of that meeting in May, refer back to the meeting of February on tax reform. Now, why was that so important? Madam Chair Lady, it is the meeting of, I believe, to be exact, the 8th of February, when we discussed the matter of the tax reform, and the minister at that time put forward a proposal. I have on several occasions stressed that while that proposal, as received by Parliament, was quite limited in scope, it carries, the position paper of government carries a lot of weight where, where tax reform is concerned, and having a position paper. So, Madam Chair Lady, going back to the meeting of February, we had the presentation. We received on paper an outline, a brief outline from the minister regarding the proposed measures for tax reform. No, we were corrected to use the term tax improvement. And the measures are, as outlined in the paper by the minister, included introduction of a small business scheme, withdrawal of the land tax, lowering of the profit tax, abolish the surcharges, lowering wage tax, increased tax-free rate income tax, lower transfer tax for extension of leased land, exemption transfer tax first home owners, abolishment of inheritance and gift tax. That was part of the presentation. At the time when the minister presented this back in February, questions were asked regarding the presentation, because in addition to what I mentioned, the minister verbally went a little deeper into the different matters as outlined here. He spoke, for example, of investment deductions in the profit tax and depreciation, etc., etc. Based on that, several members of parliament, including yourself, Madam Chair Lady, myself, and some others, had questions. CF number 3 in February, based on this topic, the minister said that he would come back with the questions that he was not able to provide then. And this whole outline from me just to establish that it is still very important that if the minister says, which he did, one of the points of departure for the minister in the whole tax reform / improvement, tax improvement, is that we get sufficient revenue out of the whole picture to basically fund the expenditures of government. That's the way it should be, in my opinion. But if you're going to say that, you have to be able to present some kind of financial consequences to the different tax reforms and or improvement. So, Madam Chair Lady, there are still those questions outstanding as posed to the minister, and the minister promised to come back. In fact, at the time he said in the next meeting week to respond to the additional questions after having gone in briefly to some questions posed by you, Madam Chair Lady. So, Madam Chair Lady, I do have, if we will continue that discussion, I do have on behalf of the faction our position on, for example, the indirect taxation. The turnover tax in its current form is not something that we subscribe to. We have the issue that we would like to propose that wage tax in some cases is considered an end levy, so it ends at wage tax. We would like the issue of the tips. When we talk about the taxable income, we want specific attention to be paid to that. It is an issue that has played, and in some countries within the kingdom was solved. We would like that to be looked at. We have spoken about and this was one of my questions in February, the so-called collection policy, as well as the so-called uitstelbeleid. These are policies of government. I know in a recent discussion with the minister, he indicated he is updating the so-called uitstelbeleid. We talked about the issue that we would like, as faction, to talk about the so-called inkeerregeling, which was also part of previous discussions on tax improvement, or at least tax cleaning up, kind of, where it pertains, Madam Chair Lady, to the matter of stimulating the economy and foreign direct investments. I have here several proposals from the faction regarding same, and would ask you if you would like me to present these in writing to you. We talk in this proposal about the investment allowance. We talk about deduction for investment in movables for X amount of years, new investment credit. We talked about deferred profit tax, and several things, Madam Chair Lady. And we also talk about, and that did appear from the minister, abolish car rental tax and room tax and place on the TOT, with the observation regarding the TOT not being, for the lack of a better word, a clean tax, because it has a sort of a multiplying effect. We also, in the document, Madam Chair Lady, that I don't know if you want me to present it in writing to the meeting, that it can just be taken over. We talk about some other issues regarding investment, because we believe that investment in general, foreign direct investment, are very important to the further economic growth, and that our whatever tax improvements are done should be tied in to the economic investment plan of St. Martin. So, Madam Chair Lady, those are some of the issues. And again, if you want, we have a specific chapter on fiscal incentives as far as investments are concerned, and I would like to know if you would like me to present that to you in writing for this committee. And then some of the other issues that I mentioned, we talk about the inkeerregeling, loonbelasting als eindheffing, the issue of the tips as taxable income, the invorderingsbeleid en uitstelbeleid. And then, Madam Chair Lady, I would like to give your consideration to having a discussion on the report by the General Audit Chamber regarding the assessments, the ambtshalve aanslagen. There is a report from the General Audit Chamber that right now that has completely gone totally out of proportion. That's a report by the General Audit Chamber, and if, with your indulgence, Madam Chair Lady, this report can be put on an agenda for this committee, and let us then see if there's anything that we can pass on to the government as far as this is concerned. The report is, if my memory serves me correctly, this report is from sometime in April. So, yeah, so Madam Chair Lady, I would just like to put those items forward. And again, I am not here to have any discussion, because any discussion on not having received the answers from CF3, because I lent to the confusion by not mentioning it when we started CF4 in May. So, Madam Chair Lady, I thank you, and if you would just give me the nod in terms of getting the information that I just read off in writing, I would do so immediately. Not immediately, but definitely after this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Wescott. Committee of Finance is just so exciting a topic that we tend to combine all of our meetings together. But indeed, there was a little bit of not so much confusion. There's a little bit of overlap. Yeah. Actually, there was a lot of overlap in meetings, in the sense of we had Committee of Finance meetings only with the minister, where he made a presentation on his tax improvement plan. We also broached the subject mildly when the central bank was here as well in a follow-up meeting. So it is easy to see that, if you go off track a little bit with answering questions, which was volunteered and done amiably so, then that this is what happens. So I would like to take an adjournment before we proceed, just so I can discuss a couple things with the griffier, and then we'll come back in. Meeting adjourned for 5 minutes. Welcome back to this Committee of Finance meeting, number 4. We took a brief break just to clarify the closing of the previous Committee of Finance meeting, number 3, which was indeed closed, and the questions were answered by the minister. There were some questions, answers to questions that were pending to come in writing, which we still need to go and verify. But indeed, the topic of discussion for that meeting was closed off. This Committee of Finance meeting number 4 was a discussion amongst the members of Parliament on the presentation that came in from the minister for his tax improvement plan and any other thoughts that we had. So now that we have clarified that the meeting was closed on February 23rd, I will pass the floor to MP Bryson to see what comments you have. Before I do that, I would like to say for the record that MP Wescott's request was to send in writing. That is not a problem. We have taken note of that. MP Bryson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and good morning to you, the Secretary General, my colleagues, and those viewing. Madam Chair, similarly, I came prepared, let's say, not to have a whole long presentation on what the United People's Party would like to see in terms of taxation. I also would agree with sending the details of it in writing. I do think it matters and it's important, especially at this stage, that the members of Parliament or collectively as a Committee of Finance, that the sentiments for what we would like to see in any sort of tax reform, sort of our wish list, should be presented to the government for them to take into account. I won't go into all of the details, but there's some that I want to state for the record because, we got a presentation, there are certain points that are brought forward, but then you hear, okay, is an import duty coming, is this coming, is that coming? Well, I would like to state our position as a political party. First of all, we are not in favor of import taxes for St. Martin. I believe that the import taxes in St. Martin as, let's say, the solution to be able to create some sort of indirect tax does not fit our economy and fit our geographical position with the French side. I think it is something that would not be in favor of St. Martin, and I think there are better alternatives that we can do. I think there's a bit of an echo. Yeah? And yeah, okay. So just want to say that we would not be in favor of an import duty being introduced in St. Martin. I think our duty-free status is maybe not as what it used to be, but there's still some benefits. It encourages the free port movement and easy movement of goods. It makes us a transshipment point, a very easy transshipment point between the country where local retailers are shipping to the surrounding islands, with it being able to leave the port. So yeah, if somebody's just transshipping through St. Martin, it wouldn't pay a duty, but the convenience of being able to take it out the port, sell some of your goods, and then ship some of your goods out gives us a good competitive advantage from a trade perspective. In some of the highlights, we are in favor of a significant lowering of the income tax and profit tax. I think that the rate at which it's collected could be cut by as much as 40%. And to offset that, I still firmly believe that we should consider a transaction tax. I do not agree with merging the hotel tax. That was something that the minister mentioned, merging the hotel tax with a car rental tax. So I just wanted to highlight that. We are definitely one of the things we want to see in light of many case laws that have happened. A reduction on taxes of tips where 0% income taxes apply to tips up to 3,000 guilders. And basically, Madam Chair, the other aspects I would want to send in writing in a sort of a paper from the United People's Party faction in terms of what we would like to see encouraged or, well, incorporated into whatever tax reforms are on their way to Parliament. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Bryson. I look to the floor to see if there's any other members of Parliament that want to speak. Perfect. Then we have taken note then that both MP Wescot-Williams and MP Bryson will send their points in writing for their factions, and we'll send that on to the minister, bring it back up for discussion in a following meeting. And at this moment, I will close this Committee of Finance meeting number 4. Thank you, members of Parliament. Thank you, public, for tuning in. This meeting is hereby closed.